for July, we have the Eight of Cups. So things are kind of interesting here. For June, we got the Five of Cups. Now we got the Eight of Cups. So I feel like you're going through a pretty difficult time here in June and July. Although July seems like you are finally stepping away from something that either no longer serves you, or it's something that you've been trying to step away from for a really long time, but for whatever reason you just couldn't, okay? Because this is Saturn and Pisces, you could just be learning a really big lesson here. I'm pretty sure by now Saturn is in Aries. I honestly don't know exact dates. So there could have been a lesson that occurred over the course of Saturn and Pisces that you're finally able to move on from. You're finally able to see something really important that Saturn wanted you to see, and not so much do something about it. At least that's not what I'm getting. Maybe you need to do something about it, but it's more or less, it's something you need to walk away from. So especially if it's an issue or something from the past that there's really nothing you can do, I feel like you could finally get some kind of relief from that here in July. So it could be from events that have been happening this year in 2025, although it could literally just be anything in your life that you're finally able to see, but especially in relation to Saturn and Pisces. So some of you could also have just went through your first Saturn return with Saturn and Pisces, or maybe your second one, but I'm picking up more on the first Saturn return where you went through it, and congratulations, you made it. Saturn returns are different for everybody, but I feel like sometimes it's a little blown out of proportion, kind of like Mercury retrograde, where it's a bit like exaggerated, because not everyone has a difficult Saturn return. Some people's karma isn't that bad, so it's to each their own. Like everyone has a different experience, but regardless, Saturn teaches you something really important, and it is kind of like an initiation into adulthood. I feel like you're not an adult until your 30s, honestly. Like, I'm 37, so I'm a bit older, but so when I do see people who are like 10 years younger than me, like, they still look like children to me. They still look really young to me. And so, like, once people hit their 30s, that's when the wrinkles start coming through and the voice starts changing. The hair starts graying once you hit 35. So 20-year-olds are still pretty freaking young. So even if it's not a Saturn return or anything, you could just be going through some kind of maturity, because I feel like there's a lot of this has to do with you just, finally accepting something is a sign of maturity. Moving on from something is mature, okay? Especially if it's something that isn't good for you, okay? And it's not to say that you aren't already mature. It's just there's maturity in these acts that you do. Relationships could also be affected still. I didn't mention it for June, but it is possible that this has a lot to do with relationships, especially if you have like Venus in Pisces, or you have 7th house, or any of the houses that deal with connection that is in Pisces. Even if you don't have these things, whatever, like, you could still just be experiencing transformations within relationships, especially romantic relationships. Yeah, this could be you walking away from somebody that just wasn't good for you. No matter how you felt about them, they just, like, they're not good for you. Maybe from a situation in a relationship, like, maybe you're able to forgive them, or maybe you guys are able to move on from just whatever. Like, it could be anything, okay? So that's basically what I got for July.